Ambassador Sarah Chen stood in the center of the Galactic Council chamber, her hands trembling slightly as she held the datapad containing Earth's final plea. The massive dome stretched above her, filled with representatives from over 300 species, each more alien than the last. Crystalline beings that chimed when they moved, gas cloud creatures floating in containment suits, and reptilian lords with scales that shifted color with their emotions. Yet for all their differences, they shared one thing in common: complete indifference to Earth's desperate situation. "Honored Council," Sarah began, her voice echoing through the chamber despite the dampening fields. "The Zephyrian hive continues to strip mine systems in the outer rim. They have already consumed 14 human colonies, harvesting not just resources but the populations themselves. Billions of humans have been taken, processed into biofuel for their war machines." A chorus of chittering arose from the insectoid delegation. What passed for laughter among their kind? High Counselor Vex High, a towering mantis-like creature, leaned forward on his crystalline perch. "Young species Chen," his translator device buzzed. "Your people have been granted space in this galaxy for less than 2 centuries. The Zephyrian hive has hunted and harvested for millennia. This is simply the natural order." Sarah's jaw tightened. Natural order. She had heard that phrase a dozen times during her 3 months of pleading before this council. The natural order that kept younger species subjugated, while the ancient powers carved up the galaxy between themselves. "With respect, High Counselor," Sarah replied, fighting to keep her voice steady, "the Zephyrians are not following any established pattern. Their consumption rate has increased by 400% in the last decade. Our xenobiologists believe they are preparing for something much larger than routine harvesting." The ethereal representative, a being of pure energy contained within a shimmering force field, pulsed with what Sarah had learned to recognize as disdain. When it spoke, its voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. "Humans possess such limited understanding of cosmic cycles," the ethereal intoned. "What you call escalation, we recognize as natural ebb and flow. Your species' brief existence grants you no perspective on true timescales." Sarah activated her datapad, projecting holographic displays above the chamber floor. Images of human colonies reduced to barren rock, their atmospheres stripped away. Footage from escape pods showed the Zephyrian harvest ships. Massive organic constructs that looked like corrupted flowers blooming in space. Their petals lined with teeth. "Perspective?" Sarah's voice rose despite her diplomatic training. "This is the Kepler 442 system 3 months ago. The hologram showed a thriving world with gleaming cities and orbital stations. This is Kepler 442 today." The image shifted to show nothing but asteroid debris and the slowly cooling remains of a gutted star. "They are not just harvesting planets," Sarah continued. "They are consuming entire solar systems. The energy patterns suggest they are building something enormous in the galactic core. Our deep space monitoring stations detected gravitational anomalies consistent with mega-engineering projects. Counselor Zarthek of the Hegemony Coalition, a species that resembled armored turtles the size of small buildings, rumbled dismissively. "Human paranoia is well documented. Your species sees threats where none exist, assigns malice to natural phenomena. The Zephyrians have existed in the galactic core for eons. If they were planning something of significance, the elder races would know." Sarah felt a surge of frustration that threatened to break her diplomatic composure. 3 months of this. 3 months of presenting evidence, showing the progression of Zephyrian expansion, demonstrating the mathematical certainty that Earth itself would be in their path within 5 years. And every time, the same response. Humanity was too young, too paranoid, too insignificant to understand galactic politics. "What evidence would convince you?" Sarah asked, her voice carrying a note of desperation she immediately regretted. "What proof would make you take action?" High Counselor Vex High's compound eyes glittered with something that might have been amusement. "The younger species always believe they can bargain for protection from their betters. But consider, what do humans offer that could possibly interest the elder races? You possess no unique technology, no rare resources, no strategic value. Your entire civilization could vanish tomorrow, and the galaxy would notice no difference. The words hit Sarah like physical blows. She had expected dismissal, but this casual cruelty caught her off guard. Around the chamber, she could see similar expressions on dozens of alien faces: boredom, superiority, and complete indifference to human suffering. "We offer our knowledge," Sarah said quietly. "Our perspective. Our creativity. Humans have developed new approaches to quantum mechanics, to biological adaptation, to social organization. We could contribute to galactic civilization." Contribute? The ethereal pulsed brighter. What could a species that has not even mastered faster than light, travel without assistance, possibly contribute? You are passengers on ships built by your betters, using technology gifted to you by more advanced races. You create nothing of value. Sarah closed her eyes for a moment, thinking of the message waiting for her back at the human embassy. Priority transmission from Earth's Emergency Council, requesting an update on negotiations. How could she tell them that the galaxy's most powerful civilizations saw humanity as less than insects, unworthy of even basic consideration? "Very well," Sarah said, opening her eyes and meeting the gaze of each counselor in turn. "I formally request that this council record humanity's warning about Zephyrian activities. When their true purpose becomes clear, when their megaproject threatens galactic stability, I want it noted that Earth provided early warning." Counselor Zarthek's translator emitted what sounded like a mechanical sigh. "Young species, your request is noted for the record. However, the Council suggests that humans focus their limited resources on more productive endeavors than conspiracy theories about ancient races." The session was over. Sarah could see it in the body language of the various representatives, the way conversations were already starting among different factions, the dismissive gestures directed toward the human delegation. She gathered her datapad and prepared to leave, but High Counselor Vexhai's voice stopped her. "A word of advice, Ambassador Chen," the mantis-like being said, his tone carrying what might have been genuine counsel. "Your species shows promise in certain limited areas. Do not waste that potential chasing shadows and imaginary threats. Accept your place in the galactic order. Find a suitable patron among the elder races. Learn humility." Sarah turned back to face him. "And if we refuse? Then you will face the consequences of your arrogance alone," Vexhai replied simply. "As countless other species have learned throughout history." The journey back to Earth took 2 weeks aboard the diplomatic transport, a sleek vessel provided by the Altarian Trade Consortium as part of humanity's cultural exchange program. Sarah spent most of the trip staring out at the stars, composing her report to the Emergency Council. When she finally sat down to record the message, she found herself struggling with the words. How do you tell an entire planet that the galaxy views them as insignificant, that when humanity's extinction arrives, no one will lift a finger to help? "Council Chairman Morrison," she began, looking directly into the recording device. "My formal diplomatic mission to the Galactic Council has concluded. I am sorry to report that our request for assistance has been denied. More than denied, it was dismissed as irrelevant." She paused, gathering her thoughts. "The elder races view humanity as a minor species unworthy of consideration. They believe our warnings about Zephyrian activities are paranoid fantasies. They have made it clear that if we face extinction, we will face it alone." Sarah stood and walked to the viewport, watching the stars wheel slowly past as the ship adjusted course for Earth. "I recommend we immediately cease all diplomatic efforts and redirect resources toward defensive preparations. The galaxy has made its position clear. Humanity is on its own." She returned to the recording device for her final words. "The Council suggested we find a patron among the elder races. Learn our place. Accept their definition of the natural order. I respectfully suggest that we decline their advice. If we are to face extinction, let us at least face it as free beings." The message transmitted automatically when the ship reached the edge of the Sol system. Sarah stood at the viewport as Earth grew larger, its blue marble beauty stark against the cosmic indifference surrounding it. Somewhere in the galactic core, the Zephyrians continued their mysterious construction project. Somewhere in the galaxy's many council chambers, elder races made decisions that would shape the fate of billions. But here, around a small yellow star on the galaxy's outer rim, humanity would make its own choices. For better or worse, they would face whatever came next on their own terms. Sarah thought about High Counselor Vexhi's final words, that countless species had learned the consequences of refusing their place in the galactic order. She wondered how many of those species had simply accepted their fate, how many had fought back, and how many had surprised everyone, including themselves. She supposed humanity was about to find out which category they belonged to. As the transport entered Earth's atmosphere, Sarah began planning her next move. The galaxy had ignored Earth's pleas for help. Soon, they would learn what humanity looked like when it stopped asking for permission and started taking action. The only question was whether they would recognize the consequences until it was far too late. 6 months after Ambassador Chen's return, the Emergency Council convened in the deep bunkers beneath Geneva. Chairman Morrison looked around the table at the faces of humanity's leaders. Military commanders, scientists, intelligence directors, and industrial magnates. Each carried the weight of impossible decisions. The Zephyrian advance has accelerated, General Hayes reported, activating the holographic display at the center of the table. They've consumed 3 more systems in the past month. At current rates, they'll reach the outer colonies within 18 months, Earth within 5 years. Dr. Elizabeth Reeves, head of xenobiology research, leaned forward. Our deep space monitoring confirms Ambassador Chen's initial assessment. The energy signatures from the galactic core are unlike anything in our databases. Whatever they're building, it's massive enough to affect local space-time. Morrison nodded grimly. Intelligence reports? Director Sarah Kim activated her datapad. We've managed to infiltrate several elder race communication networks. They're aware of increased Zephyrian activity, but dismiss it as cyclical behavior. The Altarians actually view it as a positive development. They're betting on resource prices rising as more systems become unavailable. They're treating genocide like a market opportunity, Admiral Chen muttered. Sarah Chen's younger brother had followed her into diplomatic service, but recent events had pushed him toward more direct solutions. Chairman Morrison stood and walked to the massive display showing the galaxy. Red zones marked Zephyrian-controlled territory, blue showed human settlements, and the vast majority remained gray, neutral or hostile to human interests. We are alone, Morrison said simply. The galaxy has made that clear. The question before us is simple. Do we accept extinction quietly? Or do we fight back with everything we have? The silence stretched for several minutes before General Hayes spoke. Sir, with respect, our entire military couldn't scratch a Zephyrian harvester ship. We're talking about a hive mind that spans star systems, with technology millions of years ahead of ours. Fighting them would be suicide. Dr. Reeves cleared her throat. Perhaps not entirely suicide, General. We've been studying their behavior patterns, their technology, their biology. They have weaknesses. All eyes turned to her. Morrison gestured for her to continue. The Zephyrian hive operates as a collective consciousness, Dr. Reeves explained. Each individual unit is controlled by quantum-entangled neural networks spanning their entire territory. This gives them perfect coordination, but also creates vulnerabilities. Their command structure is centralized in the galactic core. She activated new displays showing complex biological diagrams. Our analysis of recovered Zephyrian biomatter suggests they've optimized themselves for specific functions over millions of years. They're incredibly efficient at harvesting and processing, but they've lost flexibility. They don't adapt quickly to unexpected variables. General Hayes frowned. What kind of unexpected variables? Human variables, Dr. Reeves said with a slight smile. Sir, every elder race in the galaxy follows predictable patterns. They've had millions of years to perfect their approaches to warfare, diplomacy, technology. The Zephyrians have evolved countermeasures for every known threat, but not for human threats, Admiral Chen said, understanding dawning in his voice. Exactly. We're the chaos factor. We approach problems differently. Think in patterns that don't match galactic norms. The elder races see this as primitive thinking, but it might be our greatest advantage. Morrison returned to his seat. Explain the plan, Doctor. Doctor, Reeves activated a new set of displays showing Earth's industrial centers, research facilities, and military installations. We cannot match Zephyrian technology directly. But we don't need to. We need to disrupt their command structure long enough to stop their advance. She highlighted several key locations. For the past 6 months, we've been implementing Project Prometheus. Every human world, every orbital station, every research facility has been working on different aspects of a coordinated response. The display showed a map of human space with connecting lines between settlements. We're not building a traditional military force. We're building something the galaxy has never seen. A distributed, adaptive response network that can function independently, even if individual nodes are destroyed. General Hayes leaned forward, studying the diagrams. This looks like asymmetric warfare on a galactic scale. Precisely, Doctor, Reeves confirmed. The Zephyrians expect resistance to follow galactic norms, fleets meeting fleets, technology against technology. Instead, we're going to hit them in ways they won't expect, at targets they don't think matter. She activated footage from hidden research facilities. Project Prometheus has 7 major components. First, biological warfare. We've weaponized human diseases and adapted them to Zephyrian biology. Their collective immunity evolved over millions of years, but never encountered Earth pathogens. The next display showed massive industrial complexes. Second, quantum disruption technology. We can't match their quantum networks, but we can introduce chaos into them. Human creativity has produced interference patterns that their systems can't compensate for. Director Kim took over the presentation. Third, intelligence warfare. We've been infiltrating not just Zephyrian communications, but elder race networks. When we strike, we'll feed false information to every major galactic power simultaneously. Fourth, Admiral Chen continued, psychological warfare. The elder races think humans are predictable, primitive. We're going to use that assumption against them. When we respond to Zephyrian aggression, it won't be what anyone expects. Dr. Reeves resumed control of the displays. Fifth, technological sabotage. We've identified critical components in Zephyrian harvesting technology. Human engineering approaches can introduce cascade failures their systems can't detect until it's too late. Sixth, General Hayes said, his earlier skepticism replaced by growing excitement. Environmental warfare. We're going to turn star systems themselves into weapons. Solar flares, gravitational anomalies, planetary bombardment using asteroids and comets. Morrison nodded slowly. And the 7th component? Dr. Reeves smiled grimly. Surprise. Everything we've discussed assumes the Zephyrians will have time to analyze and respond to our tactics. The 7th component ensures they won't. She activated one final display showing Earth's orbital infrastructure. We're not going to wait for them to reach human space. In 6 months, when our preparations are complete, we're taking the fight to them. Every human ship, every orbital platform, every settlement will launch simultaneous strikes across their entire territory. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Morrison was the first to speak. Dr. Reeves, what you're describing is essentially declaring war on the most powerful force in the galaxy. Even if we succeed against the Zephyrians, the elder races will never tolerate such aggression from a minor species. Sir, Doctor, Reeves replied quietly. The elder races have already made their position clear. They see us as insignificant. If we succeed against the Zephyrians, they'll suddenly see us as dangerous. Either way, we'll be fighting for survival. Admiral Chen leaned back in his chair. At least this way, we choose the terms of engagement. General Hayes activated his own datapad. I'll need complete resource allocation authority. If we're doing this, we do it right. Every factory, every research facility, every available person gets mobilized. Granted, Morrison said immediately. What kind of timeline are we looking at? Full mobilization within 3 months, Hayes replied. Complete operational readiness in 6. The Zephyrians won't know what hit them, Dr. Reeves added, and neither will the elder races. When they realize what humans are capable of when we stop asking permission, the entire galactic political structure will shift. Morrison stood again, looking around the table at humanity's leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to attempt something unprecedented in galactic history. A minor species is going to challenge the established order directly. He paused, considering the magnitude of what they were planning. Ambassador Chen's diplomatic mission taught us that the galaxy operates on the principle of might makes right. The elder races maintain their position through superior force, and they use that force to dictate terms to younger species. We're about to demonstrate that might doesn't always come from age or technology, Director Kim added. Sometimes it comes from desperation, creativity, and the willingness to do what others consider impossible. The meeting continued for 6 more hours as they refined operational details, assigned responsibilities, and established coordination protocols. By the time they adjourned, humanity had committed itself to a course of action that would either save their species or ensure their destruction came on their own terms. As the leaders departed, Morrison remained behind with Dr. Reeves. "Elizabeth," he said quietly, "give me the real assessment. What are our actual chances?" She considered the question carefully before answering. "Honestly? In a conventional conflict? 0. The technology gap is insurmountable. But this won't be a conventional conflict. We're betting everything on the assumption that human unpredictability can overcome Zephyrian efficiency. And if we're wrong, then we die fighting instead of waiting for extinction," she replied simply. "Sometimes that's the best choice available." Morrison nodded and gathered his materials. As he reached the door, Dr. Reeves called after him, "Chairman Morrison, when this is over, assuming we survive, the galaxy will never see humanity the same way again. We'll either be respected or feared, but we'll never again be dismissed as insignificant." "Good," Morrison replied. "I'm tired of being ignored." As the bunkers emptied and Earth's leaders returned to their respective commands, a new energy began flowing through human space. In research facilities and military bases, in orbital platforms and colonial settlements, millions of humans began preparing for something the galaxy had never witnessed. The elder races had dismissed humanity as too young, too primitive, too unimportant to matter. The Zephyrians saw humans as just another species to harvest and process. Soon, they would all learn what happened when you underestimated the species that refused to accept the natural order. The first strike came at 0300 Galactic Standard Time on a Tuesday. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of humanity's flagship, the RSS Defiance, watching as thousands of human vessels emerged from faster-than-light travel simultaneously across 17 star systems. The coordination was perfect. 6 months of preparation had synchronized every human military asset, merchant vessel, and modified civilian craft into a single, devastating assault. "All units report ready status," his communications officer announced. Around the galaxy, similar scenes played out as human forces appeared in Zephyrian-controlled territory, like ghosts materializing from the void. "Dr. Reeves, initiate biological warfare protocol," Chen ordered. On the science vessel RSS Darwin, Dr. Reeves watched as automated drones launched toward the nearest Zephyrian harvester ship. The massive organic construct floated in space like a diseased flower, its petal-shaped collection arms slowly stripping resources from a dead world below. "Pathogen delivery systems deployed," she reported across the fleet network. "Earth strain influenza, modified for Zephyrian biology, dispersing in 3, 2, 1. The invisible cloud of engineered viruses spread across the harvester ship's biological hull. Within minutes, the first signs of infection appeared. The Zephyrian vessel's organic components began showing discoloration, its coordinated movements becoming erratic as the collective neural network struggled to process the biological chaos. "Target neutralized," Dr. Reeves reported with satisfaction. "The pathogen is spreading to connected vessels through their quantum-entangled biology." Across the galaxy, similar scenes unfolded as human biological weapons introduced chaos into Zephyrian hive clusters. The aliens had evolved perfect immunity against every known galactic pathogen, but they had never encountered the creative diversity of Earth's disease environment. Quantum disruption teams, You are authorized for Phase 2, Admiral Chen announced. On modified mining vessels hidden throughout Zephyrian space, human engineering teams activated devices that defied conventional physics. Instead of trying to match Zephyrian quantum technology, humans had chosen to break it. The disruption fields spread like digital cancer through the alien command networks, introducing random variables that their perfect systems couldn't process. "This is RSS chaos theory," came a report from one of the engineering teams. Successfully introduced recursive feedback loops into local Zephyrian command structures. Their vessels are receiving contradictory orders and beginning to attack each other. Admiral Chen allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. The first 2 phases of Project Prometheus were exceeding expectations. But the real test was yet to come. Intelligence Warfare Division, initiate Phase 3. Director Kim's voice crackled across the fleet network from her position aboard the stealth ship RSS Ghostwalker. Phase 3, operational. Feeding false intelligence to all Elder Race communication networks. They now believe the Zephyrians are attacking them directly. The beauty of the strategy was its simplicity. Humans had spent months infiltrating galactic communication networks, positioning themselves to feed false information at precisely the right moment. As Zephyrian forces began behaving erratically due to biological and quantum attacks, human intelligence operatives convinced every major galactic power that they were under direct assault. Hegemony Coalition fleet movements detected, Kim reported. They're mobilizing against Zephyrian positions in the Vega sector. The Altarian Trade Consortium is demanding military protection for their shipping lanes. The Ethereals are claiming the Zephyrians have violated ancient territorial agreements. Chen nodded grimly. Within hours, the galaxy's elder races would be at war with the Zephyrian hive, believing they were defending themselves against unprovoked aggression. Meanwhile, human forces continued their coordinated assault. Psychological warfare teams execute Phase 4. This phase was perhaps the most audacious of all. Instead of hiding their involvement, humans began broadcasting their presence across the galaxy. But not in any way the elder races expected. Rather than formal declarations of war or demands for territory, human vessels began transmitting music, poetry, mathematical theorems, and philosophical treatises. "This is the RSS Harmony," came one transmission. "To any Zephyrian collective nodes receiving this message, we offer you Bach's Brandenburg Concerto, Number 3, and the complete works of Emily Dickinson. Consider these gifts from humanity as we kill you." The psychological impact was devastating. The Zephyrian collective consciousness, optimized for efficiency and logic, found itself unable to process the sheer chaotic creativity of human culture. Their neural networks, evolved to handle complex strategic calculations, began experiencing something resembling confusion when exposed to abstract art and irrational human emotions. Phase 5, technological sabotage, commence. Admiral Chen ordered. This was where human engineering creativity truly shone. Rather than trying to build better technology than the Zephyrians, human teams had identified critical failure points in alien systems and designed cascade failures that would spread throughout their networks. "RSS entropy successful," reported Captain Martinez from the assault carrier. "Introducing unstable quantum fluctuations into Zephyrian harvester cores. Their own efficiency protocols are spreading the instability faster than they can contain it. The genius lay in using the alien strengths against them. The Zephyrian hive's perfect coordination meant that any systemic failure would propagate instantly across their entire network. Human sabotage teams had designed their attacks to exploit this weakness, turning the collective's greatest advantage into a catastrophic vulnerability. Phase 6, environmental warfare, initiate. This was the most spectacular phase. Human teams had spent months positioning asteroids, destabilizing planetary cores, and preparing solar flares. Now, they triggered coordinated environmental catastrophes across dozens of Zephyrian-controlled systems. "Solar flare sequence active in the Procyon system," reported the Environmental Warfare Coordinator. "Zephyrian bioships cannot handle the radiation levels. They're beginning emergency evacuation procedures." 1. Asteroid bombardment, successful in the Wolf 359 sector. Zephyrian surface installations destroyed. They're losing 3 harvesting operations simultaneously. Admiral Chen watched as the tactical displays showed Zephyrian forces in complete disarray. What had been a perfectly coordinated galactic-scale operation was dissolving into chaos, as human attacks struck from directions the aliens had never considered. "Admiral," his communications officer announced, "we're receiving priority transmissions from the Galactic Council. They're demanding to know what's happening." Chen smiled grimly. "Tell them humanity is demonstrating what happens when you ignore a species' pleas for help." But the real masterstroke was yet to come. Phase 7. Surprise. Was about to demonstrate why humans had been dismissed as primitive. Ended. All units. Prepare for Phase 7, Chen announced. Target. The Zephyrian construction project in the galactic core. This was the most dangerous part of the operation. Deep space reconnaissance had revealed the true scope of Zephyrian activities. They were building a massive stellar engine, designed to move their entire hive mind to a different galaxy. The project represented the collected resources of millions of harvested worlds. A technological marvel that had taken millennia to construct. Human forces began converging on the galactic core from all directions, their earlier attacks serving as diversions for this final strike. The RSS Defiance led a fleet of modified human vessels, each carrying experimental weapons designed specifically for this moment. "Target acquired," announced the sensor officer. "Zephyrian megastructure detected. Estimated size." "Sir? It's larger than our solar system." The construction project hung in space like a mechanical god, its surface covered with biological components that pulsed with organic light. Harvester ships swarmed around it like antibodies, feeding it resources from across the galaxy. "All units, execute final protocol," Admiral Chen ordered. What happened next would be remembered as the moment humanity announced its arrival on the galactic stage. Instead of trying to destroy the megastructure through conventional means, human forces implemented the most audacious plan in military history. They began converting it. "Virus deployment successful," Dr. Reeves reported from her position near the core structure. "Human-designed biological agents are rewriting Zephyrian biocomponents. The megastructure is beginning to respond to human commands." The Zephyrian stellar engine, designed to carry their hive mind to a new galaxy, was being transformed into humanity's weapon. Human viruses and nanomachines spread through its biological networks, introducing human DNA sequences and rewriting the fundamental programming of the collective consciousness. "Zephyrian command nodes going offline across the galaxy," reported the Intelligence Division. "Their collective consciousness is fragmenting as the core structure falls under human control." Admiral Chen watched as the greatest engineering project in galactic history became humanity's greatest victory. The stellar engine, with all its accumulated power and technology, was now effectively under human command. "Sir," his communications officer announced urgently, "we're receiving transmissions from Galactic Council representatives. They're requesting immediate ceasefire negotiations." "Tell them," Admiral Chen replied, "that humanity is no longer interested in negotiations. We tried that approach. It didn't work." Across the galaxy, the elder races watched in shock as their carefully maintained order collapsed. The Zephyrian Hive, one of the galaxy's most ancient and powerful forces, had been systematically dismantled by a species they had dismissed as insignificant. "Admiral," Dr. Reeves announced, "we have complete control of the stellar engine. All Zephyrian forces are surrendering or fleeing beyond the galactic rim." Chen nodded and activated the fleet-wide communication system. "All human forces, mission accomplished. The Zephyrian threat has been neutralized. Phase 8 begins immediately." "Phase 8? His first officer asked, confused. Admiral Chen smiled as he looked at the massive stellar engine now under human control, its power enough to reshape the galaxy itself. "Phase 8 is where we explain to the elder races what the new galactic order looks like." Within hours, ambassadors from every major galactic power were requesting emergency meetings with human representatives. The same species that had dismissed Earth's pleas for help were now desperately seeking dialogue with the civilization that had just demonstrated the ability to dismantle ancient powers. High Counselor Vex High himself appeared on the communication screen, his compound eyes reflecting what might have been fear. Admiral Chen, the Galactic Council requests immediate negotiations regarding the current situation. Counselor, Admiral Chen replied calmly. 6 months ago, humanity came to your council seeking help against a threat that endangered not just our species but galactic stability itself. You dismissed us as insignificant. You told us to learn our place. He paused, letting the words sink in. We have learned our place, Counselor. Our place is wherever we choose to make it. The communication screen showed similar scenes across the galaxy, as human commanders received desperate offers of alliance from the same species that had refused to help against the Zephyrians. What are humanity's terms? Vex High asked quietly. Admiral Chen looked out at the stars, at the galaxy that had ignored Earth's pleas and forced humanity to save itself. Our terms are simple. Counselor, the galaxy ignored our pleas, so we responded with fire and fury. Now the galaxy will listen when we speak, or face the consequences of dismissing us again. The age of elder race dominance was over. Humanity had announced its arrival, not with diplomacy or supplication, but with the systematic destruction of one of the galaxy's most powerful civilizations. The stars themselves seemed different now, as if the universe had shifted to accommodate this new reality. Humanity was no longer a minor species begging for protection. They were the species that other civilizations would have to reckon with, and in the depths of space, the converted Zephyrian stellar engine hummed with human commands, a monument to what happened when the galaxy underestimated the creativity, determination, and fury of the species from a small blue world on the outer rim. The galaxy had ignored Earth's pleas. Humanity's response would be remembered for millennia,